Fitzpatrick takes the snap, drops back, lobs it back right corner. Decker! He's got it! Touchdown! Eric Decker scores! And the Jets have won it in overtime!
This is the Jet Take with Ben Blessington and Kyle Fahey.
Welcome back to another installment of the Jet Take, and it's another disappointing week in Jets land. We're going to be without my co-host tonight, Kyle Fahey. He's at a wedding or something. But, you know, I was absent last week. He was absent this week. But in the future, we should both be here, you know, on a weekly basis, and we'll be uploading pretty consistently. So, you know, we've fallen off a little bit, you know, as far as, you know, maybe we upload the next day or whatnot. But, you know, we believe that's going to change. It's been kind of hard to upload when your team just consistently lets you down. But no, as always, you can follow us at the Jet Take on Twitter. We have a blog page. Kyle and I are going to do some, you know, scouting because I guess all Jets fans want to look ahead to the draft at this point. We have like scouting pages and stuff, and free agent and all type of you know, Jets articles you can check out. So we'll probably be utilizing our blog page quite a bit more. That's on our Twitter bio. You know, I missed a week. I'm a little rusty. And that's www.lipson.thejettake.org. So yeah, I guess we'll just break this game down. It will be a shorter episode because, you know, I don't have my co-host to go back and forth with. But, you know, we'll get a few callers and you know, probably around an hour tonight. But yeah, let's get into it. I mean, if you listen to any other Jets podcast, for instance, Let's Talk Jets, which is pretty much the father show of this show, since that's how Kyle and I met. I mean, a lot of blame was being shoveled on Muhammad Wilkerson for missing team meetings, and of course he came out today and said that, you know, he's sorry and he won't be a distraction and whatnot, and Sheldon Richardson overslept. And I mean, and I said it to them last night that Muhammad Wilkerson missing a team meeting, while it sucks and it's awful, and he deserves all the criticism he's getting in the past 24 hours, is not the most important issue on this team right now. To me, I mean, you watch this team. If you watch that Dolphins game, I think that's the epitome of the Jets season. It's just they're talented. They have moments of brilliance like Jalen Marshall's touchdown, Matt Forte's really great touchdown run, the catches by Robbie Anderson and Brandon Marshall. But then, I mean, Fitz, what was that interception thrown to nobody? It was like he was playing 500 in, you know, fourth grade recess or something. He just hucked it up there. It was a lame duck. It's right to two Dolphins defenders. You know, so there's a few problems with this team, as you might know if you're a Jets fan. You know, obviously the main one is probably Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's not played to what we expected him for 12 for $12 million in 1 year. I mean, to be throwing, you know, interception to interception. And I had literally said before his interception to the defensive tackle, who, by the way, had a great hurdle on that play. I literally said, I think like 2 or 3 plays before, I was like, you know what, for all the interceptions that Ryan Fitzpatrick threw the first, you know, 6 weeks of the season, he's actually, you know, tamed him down. And basically 2 games of starting, I know he didn't start the Ravens game, but and basically 2 games of starting, he hasn't thrown any interceptions, and he's looked solid, I guess. And then of course 2 plays later, he throws a pick to a defensive tackle. So, you know, whatever. Yeah, but he's definitely the number one problem on this team. Now, as far as what the Jets can do in 2017, I think that's what a lot of this episode is going to be, is basically, you know, dissecting problems and look to the future, and then we'll take a few calls, and then everybody goes on with their day. And this is being recorded on a Wednesday, the day after Donald Trump won presidency. Getting a little off topic, but whoosh. But back to the Jets football. That was a side note. If Kyle was here, he would go banter back and forth because, you know, he's from Florida. I'm from Oregon. We've got our differences. But back to the Jets and Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's just I don't know whether it's a combination of losing Decker, which I think hurt him quite a bit. I mean, it's a difference in play calling. I don't even know what it is. To be fair, I mean, I think you can tell he wants it so bad. I don't think it's his work ethic or his grit or anything is coming into question. I think it's just body giving up on him. His arm clearly does not support his head. He's missing easy throws. He missed Robbie Anderson wide open for a 60-yard touchdown. He's missing, you know, first downs to the flat. he's just not a very good quarterback. What we paid for when we got Ryan Fitzpatrick was we paid for a competent quarterback. We paid for a guy who's not going to lose games for the Jets. I even admitted that I believe there was going to be a drop-off between last year and this year, but I said, you know what? We at least know that the guys love him, so that he has chemistry with them. He has a great roster, a great defense. He clearly works in Gillies' system, and he might fall off a little bit, but he's still a competent quarterback, a game manager. And I thought, this roster is talented enough all they need is a game manager. If Geno Smith goes out there and he trots out the 2014 Geno Smith and he's horrible, this team's not going anywhere. And if we get the 2015 Ryan Fitzpatrick, even if it's a tick worse, this team can go somewhere. We're not even close to the 2015 Ryan Fitzpatrick. We're in. I don't. He might be playing like the worst quarterback in a long time. And I know Geno Smith had a few bad games, like that Bills game where he threw 3 interceptions on the first 10 plays. But this is ugly. It's consistently just bad football. Back to back to back to back. He has just not performed well. So as far as Fitz goes, no way he returns next year. I think that's obvious. As far as Todd Bowles announcing him the starter for this week, I don't know what to say about that. I mean, is that more of a indictment on Petty not being ready? I guess so. But at this point, I get that you don't want to rush Hackenberg argument. Except I would like to see Hackenberg play before this year ends, just so we know what he is before the draft. Because my biggest fear is that the Jets will continue to suck. Go, what are we now? 3-6. They go 5-11, 4-12. We land top 10 of the draft, probably 5 or 6. A guy like Kaiser or Watson or whoever falls to us, but we pass. And in this circumstance, we could be 3-13 and be picking third. It doesn't matter. And we pass because we say we have Christian Hackenberg or whatever, but we haven't seen him at all. We need to see Bryce Petty and Christian Hackenberg before the year is over if we're not making a run. Now, if Ryan Fitzpatrick trots out here against St. Louis, barring he is healthy, he had a sprained MCL, and he does start, and he looks good, then I guess you have to keep rolling with him because until the Jets are mathematically eliminated, Todd Bowles is going to not play Bryce Petty or Christian Hackenberg. I think that's pretty safe to say. Now, if the Jets are winning and Fitzpatrick looks bad, I think, or he gets hurt, then you could probably see Bryce Petty. But at this point, if the Jets are winning, it probably means Ryan Fitzpatrick's playing all right, and I think we'll keep him in. But at 3-6, it's really dark, and I don't think we're going to make the playoffs, especially with 2 games against New England left. I think playoffs are pretty much out of the contention, but it'll take probably 2 more losses for me to cheer against this team, because once you hit 8-8, then it's just that you're not going to the playoffs at all. I mean, 9-7 was good enough for a wild card for a long time. It probably won't be this year, and 10-6 might not be good enough. But until the Jets are mathematically eliminated, I'm not going to cheer against them. And even when I say cheer against them, I'm still going to be cheering for them to put up big plays. But in the back of my mind, I won't be as upset, because when you're seeing Kenyon Drake, run 96 yards, breaking Taiwan Jones's tackle, Buster Screen's tackle, Nick Folk can't catch up on him, and all the guys. It's just it's tough to watch that week in and week out. But 3-6, I mean, it's do or die at this point. I think a lot of Jets fans have given up and rolled over, and part of me wants to as well. But until the Jets are mathematically eliminated, because who knows? Maybe they'll shock us all, turn into the New England Patriots, beat the Rams, and then come out beat the Patriots. I'll be there, a home game. And then, maybe that gets the ball rolling. Who knows? But right now we're going to just pretend that the Jets are probably going to finish middle of the pack, 5-11, 6-10. And that'll be tough. All right, so for the quarterback, future replacements, the Jets obviously have a few guys in the draft they could look at. Kyle has been, raving about this Texas Tech quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. I do not want another project QB. If we're taking a quarterback in this year's draft, it better be a guy who can start day one. Whether that's Kaiser or Watson or whoever, it can't be a guy who played in the spread system or is not ready, who played in the college system, is not ready for pro style. It's whatever. I think the chances are pretty good that at least Bryce Petty or Christian Hackenberg is competent, or at least, better than Fitz. That's not hard to do. So I think next year you'll probably see a Bryce Petty, Christian Hackenberg competition. Now, if Todd Bowles, he's the only one, and I guess all the players and coaches have seen Christian Hackenberg and Bryce Petty, practice and stuff. If he thinks that neither of them are ready, I think you could see a guy like Tony Romo enter, the picture with Dak Prescott playing so well down in Dallas. But the Jets don't have much cap space until they clear guys like Clady, who, by the way, I know we're jumping all over the map here. but he's out for the year, which is just a surprise. For a shoulder injury, he looked fine on the sideline. He dressed. He was active for the game, didn't play a snap, and now he's just out. And that was the risk we knew we were taking with Clady. And it sucks because Giacomini is horrible. And I really wanted to see, Ben Ajalon at right tackle, but instead we have to put Ben Ajalon at left tackle where he's not as good, and now we have to have it messes up our entire offensive line. It's really disappointing, but back to the quarterback thing. So the Jets, Tony Romo's going to want some big money because he knows this is probably the last contract he's going to get, probably a 2 or 3 year deal, and he probably won't stay healthy. That's the one problem you take with Tony Romo, but a healthy Tony Romo is a top 10 quarterback in this league despite all his choking, and he probably wouldn't be great for the New York market, but you know what? This team is still talented. They have a lot of skunks on their roster, let's just put it like that. But they still do have a winnable roster and some young, bright pieces. If you guys didn't check out Connor Rogers' piece on the future of the Jets, that brought me some optimism. You have guys like Quincy Enunwa, Robbie Anderson, even Jalen Marshall, who I don't want to put him back there for punt and kick returner, but he looked good in wide receiver as a slot four-string wide receiver. Devin Smith comes back, maybe he's a bright spot. We as I mentioned earlier, we have some young guys in the offensive line like Carpenter and Ajalana, Qualley, Winters. They all look good. A couple free agents there, but we're gonna have to re-sign a few of them. The wide receiver, and we have Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker returning next year. So the wide receiver core is set. They should be one of the best in the league. The offensive line has some holes, but maybe if we can address that in the draft, you could be seeing let's say, second or first round pick at left tackle, James Carpenter, Nick Mangold, Brian Winters, if we re-sign him, who's turned into quite a good guard, and Ben Ajalana or something like that, and that's a solid offensive line. So maybe the offensive line's improved. Then at the quarterback position, you're either seeing a vet. It's gonna be Bryce Petty, Christian Hackenberg, and a veteran. Whether that veteran's a good guy like Tony Romo or a middle of the pack guy. No names are coming to my head right now. Like a guy on Mark Sanchez's level. I don't think the Jets would ever bring back Mark Sanchez, but a middle of the pack guy like that. What that veteran's skill range goes from. Maybe Matt Schaub, I don't want him, but I'm just saying there will be a veteran in the mix there, and it shouldn't be Fitzpatrick. So the quarterback position is in question, but I'm confident that either Bryce Petty and Christian Hackenberg has something in them. Part of me goes back to, and I do trust Mike McCagnon to build this team. I think he's the right GM for the team. Todd Bowles still has to prove to me a little more, but so I the fact that he drafted Christian Hackenberg that high, hopefully gives us some hope that he's a good skill set, and maybe he can develop. Now Bryce Petty, he threw 2 passes. He has the best completion percentage all time for Jets quarterbacks, 100%, 2 for 2. So hopefully he just retires now and then goes out on top of the record books. But no, he looks solid at least in his 2 little dump off throws. So one of them for next year, I think that could be solid. If the Jets do decide to pick a quarterback in the draft, you look at guys like Deshaun Watson. I probably prefer Kaiser, even though his Notre Dame team has struggled quite a bit. But I do like Kaiser. So yeah, I think that's pretty much most of the offense there. And the running back position, I got to be honest, I like Matt Forte, but I kind of want to move on. I think the Jets, after this year, watching this old team struggle, I think they need to have an infusion of youth into this team. Now, whether that is a free agent or a draft pick or whatnot, I think Bilal Powell will stay next year. I like the addition of C.J. Spiller, but he's not going to be back next year for the most part. So you might see Bilal Powell, and a rookie, and a free agent signing. So I honestly think they should redo that running back spot. If they do give Matt Forte another year, I guess he's just another veteran. But I think when we go into the offseason, I think you're going to see a lot of veterans get cut, like the Ryan Clady's, maybe a guy like Nick Mangold. You never know. But I think the Jets will start to and especially on that defensive side of the ball, cut some fat of the older veteran guys and get an infusion of youth. So the offense is actually in an okay spot going into next year. And of course, they have Austin Seferian-Jenkins. You just got to get that quarterback position locked down and help guys, especially at the wide receiver position, playing well. Because let's be honest, the offensive line, although it didn't look great on Sunday, has looked competent for most of the year. The receiving core has looked fantastic. I mean, how many times has Robbie Anderson, been streaking down the field wide open for a touchdown, and Fitzpatrick has missed him? So you get them a competent quarterback, a guy, maybe that's Bryce Petty, Christian Hackenberg, whoever. I think this team could be in for some good fortune. And then at that running back position, maybe you have Forte return, but personally, I'd be more interested in maybe Fournette or whatever, maybe a young explosive guy from college. Get that position locked down because you look at Ajayi. Although he didn't get his 200-yard rushing, he still had a solid game. Now on the defensive side of the ball, actually I want to say one more thing about the offensive side of the ball as far as the things that are wrong with this team. The offensive play calling is horrible. It is absolutely putrid. I don't know what happened to Chan Gailey. And this is the same way I felt after that Bills game, the Thursday night game. When he was throwing, the wide receiver screens on 3rd and 5 or 4th and 5 or whatever it was. He's awful. He's horrible. I don't know what to say. But yes, part of this is on Fitzpatrick and part of this is on Gailey. I blame Gailey more. One, they're so predictable. You know when they're going to run it and you know when they're going to throw it. And when we brought in Matt Forte, we thought we were going to lose a lot of that. Because last year it was, if Chris Ivory and Tommy Bohannon and Kellen Davis-Stern were going to run it, and if Bilal Powell's in, then we're going to throw it. And we thought, okay, Matt Forte, he's a little bit of fire and ice. He can do both. He can catch it. He can run. It'll keep defenses on their feet. But it just always seems, I don't know if it's the formations or whatnot, or just cues guys are giving. It always seems like they're going to run. They're too predictable. But in the goal line, that's my biggest problem with them. We went from the best red zone offense to the worst red zone offense. Robbie Anderson gets us down to the 10-yard line and horrible play calling. Last year, our bread and butter, and yes, I attribute a lot of this to not having Decker. But Quincy Enunwa and Robbie Anderson and Jalen Marshall, while not the receiver Decker was in the safe pair of hands, they're solid receivers. And it just seems like Chan Gailey's not using them correctly in the red zone. It feels like it's a lot of go to Marshall and run, and maybe a forced pass to Enunwa. But it's a lot of force it to Marshall and run it down the throat for 2 yards, and then we kick a field goal. It killed us. We were 0 for 4 in the red zone, 3 field goals and 1 interception. That's unacceptable. You don't see any guys moving around. Last year, specifically the touchdown versus Decker had versus Dallas, the touchdown Marshall had, his first one against New England, where they move him across and Decker's, or excuse me, there are a few other ones throughout the year. Where let's say it's Marshall would come in motion across the center, and then snap it. It's a pick play basically. Maybe Decker would run a slant, Marshall would go to the flat. One of them is going to be open for the most part, and if not, Fitz probably could either run or throw it to a third option. It was a great little system they had going, but they stopped running that. And maybe they thought they'd be too predictable. But why haven't we seen Quincy Enunwa come in motion and Marshall over the middle and Enunwa to the flat? And we saw that week 1. It's just, I don't know. We're lacking quite a bit on the offensive play call. It just seems anemic. It's just not. It just doesn't look right. It's almost just it's like we're playing preseason offense. They're so vanilla. There's no surprise. We're gonna roll out here and fire it into the back corner to Austin Safarian-Jenkins. It's a lot of run up the middle with Matt Forte. Single coverage with Marshall on the 5-yard line. We're gonna throw a fade to you. That's gonna be incomplete. And then we're gonna play fake or whatever, look over the middle. There's gonna be nobody, and he's gonna get sacked, and we have to kick the field. It just seems like that's what the drive. So I know Gailey doesn't deserve all the blame because the offensive line needs some work, especially in this upcoming draft and free agency. And Fitzpatrick has been missing guys, but this offense is pretty talented. And Gailey, I just feel like he's not making it easy. He's not doing a lot of quick throws to compensate for the bad offensive line, like you saw a lot of teams do, especially when we played them. I'm trying to remember who was the team that just kept killing us with quick throws. I think it was Kansas City. It was Kansas City who had a beat up offensive line. We were licking our chops to go play them because we have a great defensive line, and it's just we couldn't get any pressures because it was snap and throw. There's none of creativity or anything on the offensive side of the football. Now on the defensive side of the football, it's a different story. It looks like guys just aren't trying. On the defensive line, I think next year you'll see a lot of I think Steve McClendon will return. I thought he's been solid against the run. I think you haven't noticed too much of a fall off from Snacks as the Jets are top 5 in run defense. Muhammad Wilkerson clearly looks like he's playing hurt, but he also looks uninspired. So if the Jets can get a solid, third-round pick, second-round pick for Muhammad Wilkerson, I think you take it and try to sign Sheldon Richardson to a big deal. and maybe less than Muhammad Wilkerson's because, we'll see. Now, if they can trade Sheldon, we'll see. But it seems like what the most likely outcome is that it's going to be Muhammad and Leonard next year. And by the way, the Jets should build their defense around Leonard Williams, no question about it. And then Sheldon will walk, to the Raiders or some, other team that's going to pay him big bucks. Maybe the Jaguars. Who knows? So the defensive line, I'm not as worried for next year. I think Muhammad Wilkerson played hurt. I think next year, I think you'll see a little bit more motivated Muhammad Wilkerson. Hopefully Leonard Williams takes some steps, and that defensive line will be fine next year. The linebacking core, we knew there was going to be a learning curve, and there has been a pretty steep one. But, they're missing guys like Darren Lee. Aaron Henderson was out, Bruce Carter, so they lost quite a bit of depth, especially in the middle of the field. That's huge. You force guys like Julian Stanford, who was a preseason star, but that was about it, into big roles, into big game-changing moments. Of course, he had the holding penalty on 3rd and 5, and that cost the Jets essentially the game, although the Jets, kind of put themselves in that hole anyways. But, it's just he shouldn't be in that situation. That should be Darren Lee, or that should be David Harris, or that should be Aaron Henderson. That shouldn't have been Julian Stanford. Now, however, I do like Julian Stanford. So next year, I think David Harris will return. But I think maybe on a restructured deal. He's making $7 million next year. That might be too much for a team that I think needs to, use a lot of, infuse a lot of youth. So this draft is going to have to be good. I think the Jets are going to try to acquire picks, get 10 or 12, 10 or 12, 8 and 10, 12, something between there, to get, some solid picks. Look at the Raiders, even the Jaguars who are struggling, but the Raiders, I mean, you can suffer a few losing seasons. This Jet team is way more talented than the Raiders, or at least has more pieces than Brandon Marshall and Eric Decker and stuff. So the linebacking core, I thought Jordan Jenkins has been solid against the run, definitely better than Lorenzo Malden against the run. He's been stout. His pass coverage needs some work. He's not the pass rusher that the Jets need, but we kind of knew that he was just going to be a guy who ate up blocks. That was kind of he was great against the run. He's solid in coverage, as he almost had a pick six. He's just kind of a meh player, but a guy who's needed on that defense. You can't all have pass rushers because then your run game's going to struggle. When he's been out there, it's been hard to run against. He's made a few mistakes here and there, but I'm happy with Jordan Jenkins' progress. You haven't really noticed him. He's a quiet guy. And that's exactly what was his repertoire at Georgia. That's what he is. So I think he's a guy. And maybe, if there is the defensive line, starts taking up more blocks, maybe you'll see him fire through for a sack. But he's more of a run stopper. He's the Brian Thomas of this defense, a good chunk of it. And a guy you don't want to remove. And the inside linebackers, as we talked about, I think next year you'll see David Harris, Darren Lee, hopefully Julian Stanford will return. Maybe, Bruce Carter makes a return. And then the other side, I think you're going to need some help. Lorenzo Malden is a very good pass rusher when he gets time, but his run defense is horrible. So I think the Jets need to decide what they're going to do there. And some guys are just part-time players. Maybe he drops a few pounds and gets down to what he was last year, and we use him in that role. Maybe he's not meant to be a full-time pass rusher. On passing downs, he can go in and he can be a solid guy who goes in on first and second downs. But you don't want him as a full-time starter right now. So maybe you go address that position in the draft, get a true outside linebacker, which the Jets have been starved for years. Maybe that's the way they go. But I think they'll probably go offensive lineman or running back or our next position group we're going to talk about. So yeah, the linebacking core and the front seven really is not that. So you got to be asking yourself, well, if everything's all peaches and cream, well, what's wrong with this team? And this is where it gets awful. The secondary is putrid. The defensive play calling and the offensive play calling, as we talked about, is bad. Todd Bowles is not a good clock manager. This is where all this stuff starts coming. They're a sloppy team. They're not a very last year they didn't have many penalties. They were very clean. They did their job. But this is a very undisciplined team. Especially in the secondary, they look like they're not trying. Darrelle Revis is out of shape, and his body's given up on him as well. So I think next year, I don't think he'll be returning at that salary. I don't think there's any way that happens. Maybe the Jets trade him for a third or second round pick, but I don't know who's going to try to swallow that deal. The most likely solution. Oh, and there's also the possibility that Darrelle Revis retires. I would not be surprised if Revis retires. But what I hope happens is the Jets bring him back on a restructured deal, because when the Jets have tried to use him in that, cover the number 2 and double the 1, it's actually been pretty effective. Against the Dolphins, you didn't hear Kenny Still's name mentioned once. Darrelle Revis shut him down. Now, unfortunately, he's not shutting down the likes of Megatron and Chad Ochocinco back in the day, but he's at least he can shut down a side of the field, or at least the number 2 wide receiver, which is big. So I think the Jets should try to bring him back if they can. Now, the rest of the corners, Screen is meant for the slot, and that's about it. So the Jets are probably going to have to drop a corner next year, whether that's, Peppers isn't really a corner, but maybe a playmaker like him at safety. Tabor from Florida. There are a few, and again, Kyle and I will be posting a lot of, our scouting and analysis and stuff like this. For in the secondary. So yeah, the Jets are going to need a lot of, maybe 2 draft picks at the cornerback position, and maybe 1 in the secondary, depending on how many picks they have. So you could see 3 or 4 picks going to the secondary, or maybe you bring in another veteran. I like Calvin Pryor. Now we're moving to the safeties, because the corners have it's not all peaches and cream at the corners. They have a lot of work to do this offseason, as does the offensive line and as does the quarterback position. And the Jets need to tighten up a few things, but I don't think I don't think we need to blow it all up. I think we kind of need to half blow it up. Trade some guys, get some picks back, keep the guys like Brandon Marshall and a few others in for this. And Kyle, is that you?
That is me.
Wow, you really just showed up late to the party. Yeah, what happened? What happened? What happened to the? Oh, I'm at a wedding. I can't do it.
I am at a wedding. I'm currently in my hotel room, actually. And, I just got back from dinner, and, my dad's out at the bachelor party, so I figured I would.
Oh, okay. You decided to crush the party. I said, I was enjoying having an episode by myself. But I have to admit, it was probably a little bit of a snooze fest, because to have one host just talking to himself is a little repetitive.
Yeah.
It's good to have some conversation.
I figured I'd call in, I bust your chops a little, that's what I usually do. The people next to me are probably going to think I'm talking to myself, but hey, I'm only here for like 4 nights, so screw them.
Yeah, well, we've already, Kyle, just so if you're curious, we've already covered Donald Trump as the president. We've covered, we've covered Tony Romo. We've covered, it's only you who's come up with that idea. Now, basically, what we've moved on from is I've gone through pretty much each position group. We've talked about, the main problems.
Wait. Are you in favor of tanking?
No, it wouldn't be the worst thing to happen to this team, but to be fair, I think the Jets need to lose 2 more games for me to cheer for them to tank. They need to be mathematically out of it for me to cheer against them. But until that comes, hey, Kyle, maybe the Jets turn into the New England Patriots and win 7 straight. Why not? But no, they need to go. Once they hit the 8-loss mark, that means the best they can do is 8-8. Then you can start tanking. But basically, I don't want to be too repetitive, but I'll run you through Kyle, because I know you probably weren't listening. Is we talked about the quarterbacks and Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's not going to be back next year. We talked about what was wrong with him and on Sunday and the weeks and possible routes of replacing him. We basically went through the entire offense. I said I don't know if I want Matt Forte back. I kind of want to get an infusion of youth on this team and cut a lot of the veterans. However, Forte's been good, so maybe he is back. But I'd much prefer trading him maybe for a 5th-round pick or whatever, getting whatever, and maybe drafting a guy like Fournette or whoever. It doesn't have to be Fournette. And another explosive running back in the first 3 rounds of the draft. But if he does return, he's been solid. I talked about the receivers. That's the one bright spot in this team is Marshall and Decker will be back next year, presumably. And they have a lot of young talent around them. The offensive line is going to need some work. However, maybe that's their 1st or 2nd round pick. But my prediction is you'll probably see a 1st or 2nd round pick at the left tackle. You'll see Carpenter. You'll see Mangold. You'll see Winters. Hopefully we re-sign him because he's been one of the best right guards. And you'll probably see Ajalana. And that's a solid offensive line. Really, it comes down to the quarterback. Then we talked about the offensive play calling, how it's been awful, and I think that's Fitz in the offensive play calling is a huge reason for this entire offense collapse. Because, how many times have we seen receivers streaking down the field wide open? It's just Fitz is either missing them or Changeli's not making the right calls. And then I talked about the defense. We talked about Mo and Sheldon a little bit, and we're going to get into that in just a minute. Then we talked about the linebackers a little bit and how they went through a little bit of a learning curve. But, I think they have some bright spots, specifically Darren Lee when he comes back. I thought Jordan Jenkins has been solid. He's been great against the run. We knew he wasn't much of a pass rusher coming out. He's been, decent in coverage. He dropped a pick 6. But, he's just kind of a meh player, a hardworking player, a Brian Thomas. You can't have all, star pass rushers on your team. So I'm excited for him. I said Lorenzo Malton should probably drop a few pounds, get back to what he was his rookie year, make him a part-time player, and, bring in a guy at outside linebacker. And we talked about corners, and that's kind of when you came in I said we got to get it. I do want Revis back, not at that price. I think he's either going to retire, the Jets are going to trade him, but I don't think anybody's going to take it up at that price. I think the most likely is we're going to restructure him or we cut him. Those are the 4 options for us, and I think they'll probably restructure him because, how many times did you hear Kenny Still's name? He's still solid at shutting down number 2 receivers. And now, of course, as I said, he's not shutting down guys like Megatron and Chad Ochocinco and stuff, but, he can still shut down a guy. So that's where I'm saying the Jets should probably invest a few picks in the draft of the secondary. So now you can butt in. I said a screen. He's been iffy. Maybe you cut him, but I think he's solid in the slot. But the Jets definitely need a playmaker on that corner, and I think it should be a young pick. So Kyle, you being a Florida fan, why don't you talk about Tease Tabor for a little bit?
About who? I'm sorry, you're on speaker.
Tease Tabor.
Oh, yeah. Tease is one of the many cornerbacks the Gators have been lucky to have over the past couple of years. Last year they had Vernon Hargraves as the number 1, and now this year, it's a good argument between Tease and Marquise Wilson. But Tease is a strong guy who, like Revis, is not the most gifted athlete in the world. Now, I would say he's faster and stronger than Revis, but Tease is all about technique. He's a ball hawk. He's got pretty decent hands. You could probably put him at wide receiver if you needed to, and, high school days, stuff like that. But he's definitely a good talent we should look at. And, the way Todd Bowles has been coaching is, win until, the end of the season, which seems to be stupid. So we'll probably end up getting like the 12th pick overall or something. So he's definitely a real possibility, and I wouldn't be against it.
Yeah, for sure. As I was saying, I think the Jets need to invest some picks in the secondary because that's been a big problem. I questioned Todd Bowles' play calling and stuff, but if the Jets can get, probably a pass rusher from the outside linebacker position, probably filling either Lorenzo Malton's spot, and Lorenzo comes in on passing downs and replaces Jordan Jenkins on those downs. I think they need to get that. They need to get guys in the secondary, and I think that defense can be, will be much better off next year. And then on the offense, as we said, the offensive line and the quarterback. And then for safeties, I actually like Calvin Pryor. I don't think he's horrible. I think the Jets are kind of using him in not the right way, the way they should have been using him. He should be around the line of scrimmage. Some people have talked about, making him gain weight and put him at linebacker. You know what? Sure.
Why not? He could hit like a linebacker.
Yeah, if it works, then why not? But right now he's a safety. I think he's working on his coverage skills. I don't think he's one of the guys you just get rid of. He is a 3-year player. He's a young guy. He was a bright spot last year. You don't give up on him. Now Gilchrist, on the other hand, is a guy who's making big money, and he's not been great. He's got a few interceptions. He's made some plays. He's the quarterback of the defense, but I don't know. I feel like he's a guy that I think will either stay on a restructured deal, the Jets will cut him or trade him. But if there is an opportunity to get a guy who's better, then you take him. Then you take him and you say what, so what to Marcus Gilchrist. So I think the Jets, as I was saying, I don't think the Jets are going to be in the crapper for too long. If they can manage this right. If they can keep some of the good pieces like Marshall, Decker, keep guys like Anunwa and Rontez Miles back on this team, and hopefully Petty or Hackenberg solid, I think this team can be returning to that 10-6 form. And maybe that's too optimistic. We'll see. But I'm just saying I think that there are plenty of solid pieces around this team to build it. Kyle, anything else you want to talk and anything else you want to talk about?
Yeah, I want to talk about let's talk Jets. I want to touch on that for a second, Ben. And me and you have had their run-ins with them over the past,
Oh, come
2
on.
weeks.
They're not a rival gang.
Well, let me just say this. You don't criticize someone for telling you the truth a couple weeks early. I'll say that right now.
No.
And for those,
oh no.
No, because I find this to be bullcrap, then, all right? They want to go ahead and try and call me out on Twitter on the Jet Take account, saying, oh, you're not a real fan, you're an idiot, we're going to block you, because I told them that the Jets have no chance at the – they said it goes – they literally said they were going to – yeah, they said it literally said blocked, period, then stupid take. Like, you can go read the tweet.
That was most likely Tyson.
But, and then, on their latest episode, I see them tweeting out, I didn't call in or listen, but see them tweeting out, oh, Todd Bowles is an idiot, we should fire him. Ryan Fitzpatrick sucks, the Jets should just tank. I can't believe people are still buying tickets, which it's not like they do. These are all things, me and you have been saying, basically this whole season, me more of the Todd Bowles and tanking thing, but I just find that funny, and then they're trying to blame Woody Johnson for having bad, hiring skills or something along those lines. So just found that very interesting then. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. And not just let's talk Jets or whatever, we're not going to shout, but there are a couple, fans.
No, but don't
Kyle,
I'm directly going after them.
Well, Kyle, I think a lot of fans don't want to hear about, how their team sucks and stuff. And I got to be honest, Kyle, although you were right, this did not seem likely whatsoever. The Jets have so many guys that are talented, but it just looks like they're not trying as hard as they were last year or whatnot.
Because we don't have a coach who has control of the locker room. I've been saying this.
I don't put this as much on Bowles. I think you have to trust Bowles and McCaffrey.
You don't put this on Bowles? He has no control.
Oh no. He gets a fair share, but not enough for me to fire him. I think that he is still the same guy who led him to 10-6 last year. He's a descendant from the Parcells tree. You can't just keep Kyle. That's not a way you establish a winning culture. You can't just fire coaches after a bad. I'm saying, but if you want to establish, you can't fire coaches after one bad year. Look at Jack Del Rio and Oakland. They gave him a few years, and look what's happened. The Jets. Todd Bowles delivered last year. He delivered in a few moments. Okay, what?
Here's the difference between Jack Del Rio and the Jets. The Jets have Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker, Nick Mangold. Last year had Revis. He was pretty decent. They had a bunch of veteran guys who did a good job. The Oakland Raiders had Jack, all right? They didn't even have a quarterback who could throw the ball. I'm pretty sure they signed – No. Before. Then they drafted Derek Carr. They hired Jack Del Rio mid-year before they drafted. And that's the difference there, all right? Todd Bowles is working with a lot of talent. Jack Del Rio is now working with a lot of talent, and look where he's gotten them.
That is a fair point, but my point still stands. Maybe Jack Del Rio wasn't the greatest example, but my point still stands that you can't. But think of it, the guys for Christian Hackenberg and Bryce Petty. I guess I think they should fire Gailey, which I guess this just kind of disproves my point. But I feel like you want to keep guys in the same system. The guys clearly like him. He's still. I think that I think this is more on the offensive play calling of Gailey. I think this is on the effort of guys in the secondary, and I don't think we're talented enough in the front seven. So we'll see. I don't think we should. No. The defensive line is talented, but the outside linebacker positions can't get any pressure. Jordan Jenkins is a run stopper, so he should be on run downs. Lorenzo Mullen is a pass stopper or pass rusher. He should be on passing downs. But they both suck at the other thing. So they're great. They're a great duo to have for one linebacking spot. But then you need a beast on the other side. And where they get that from, is God knows. It seems like we needed a 3-4 outside linebacker since 2006 or whatever. But no, there are a few problems on this team. But I think let's say Petty closes out this year and he's solid. Then the Jets have a solid quarterback. They can draft offensive lineman, a corner. Maybe a running back, something like that in the draft, get places like that, an outside linebacker, a few other guys like that. Then they address it in the offseason getting maybe their star outside linebacker or their offensive lineman, whatever. Those are 4 or 5 needs that can be addressed through the draft and free agency. They trade away a few assets, get a lot of picks, get a lot of young guys in here, draft well, and then you're looking at a team that has an infusion of youth, and with Robbie Anderson, Quincy Enunwa, all these Darren Lee, all these solid players, and hopefully a big draft class, and then you have the veterans on top, Muhammad Wilkerson Brandon Marshall, maybe Darrelle Revis on a restructured deal, Eric Decker, Nick Mangold, and then the young guys are all loved by Leo Williams. I think you want to get it to your number of veterans down to 5 or 6 guys.
Yeah, I mean,
guys who are over 30, because that's eliminating guys like Clady, that's eliminating guys like Forte. You might be getting rid of a few other guys. I think the Jets need to go young. I think that's the way this team. Anything you'd like to add on that?
I want to touch on the Chan Gailey and Bryce Petty thing. You alluded to a little earlier. Here's the thing about Chan Gailey. His system works, all right? He just doesn't have a quarterback to get it to work right now. We saw Geno Smith and Bryce Petty come in for limited time, and what happened? It was a pretty solid passing attack, and this is minus Eric Decker. You actually get a quarterback who can deliver the ball to Robbie Anderson and Jalen Marshall mid-stride, we win a lot of the games we have lost this year, right? So I don't think we should fire Chan Gailey unless he just absolutely continues to suck, and not because of Ryan Fitzpatrick, which, seems to be encased in almost every, game this year. And here's the thing about Bryce Petty. How bad does he suck to where Ryan Fitzpatrick, the guy who sucked when he's supposedly extremely angry and wants to do his best, and then has a sprained MCL, which most players would miss a week with? How bad does Bryce Petty suck where the Jets are not willing to put him in? I understand the Rams have a good defense. I mean, they have a good defensive line. Their secondary is okay, but why is Ryan Fitzpatrick still in here? Does Todd Bowles seriously think that Ryan Fitzpatrick gives them the best shot to win? He has proven for 9 weeks now he does not give them the best shot to win.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe that Bryce Petty or even Christian Hackenberg wouldn't be able to hit the bar that Ryan Fitzpatrick is hitting right now, because it's very low.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Fitzpatrick is 35th in the league for quarterbacks, and that means that there are 3 backup quarterbacks who have completed the certain eligibility rules. I believe it's like 50 passes or something that are better than him. So when we're talking about rankings of quarterbacks, you get Aaron Rodgers number 1, Tom Brady number 2, something along those lines. Ryan Fitzpatrick is -3. That's how bad he is. And he's got Brandon Marshall, Quincy Newell, Matt Forte, Bilal Powell. He's got a decent offensive line. You give any other quarterback that, you're looking at a Super Bowl contender.
Yep. Well,
Ryan Fitzpatrick,
I think it comes down to the offensive play calling. Ryan Fitzpatrick has been awful, and the defense is secondary especially has been.
Well, here's
they're unmotivated. The pass defense is bad. We can't get after the quarterback, and we can't stop any guys downfield. So the Jets have some needs to advance. But yes, we continue with the quarterback.
And what I've noticed throughout this whole year, and it really started with Darrelle Revis, but then all of these reports of Mo and Sheldon coming out, which absolutely messes up their trade value. You just lost possibly a round or 2 because of this coming out. I don't know who leaked this throughout the team or who said this, or I'm pretty sure Todd Bowles said that they missed a meeting, but then somebody else said they've missed multiple meetings throughout the years. I mean, that hurts all trade that you had set up or, you were exploring. Because now they're going to hear, okay, Muhammad Wilkerson, great player when healthy, huge contract, not a leader in the locker room, misses meetings, doesn't even show up for his birthday party. I don't want this guy in my locker room. Then Sheldon Richardson, great player when healthy or not suspended, off the field issues, and also doesn't show up to meetings. Who's going to trade for that? Who is going to trade for that? And that all goes back to coaching for me. I understand, Todd's only been there for 2 years. Set an example. I know he's soft-spoken, all right, but set an example. We see Revis not trying. We see other guys in the secondary not trying. They want to get paid this money. I'm targeting Muhammad Wilkerson and Darrelle Revis here. You want to get paid these big bucks. You want to just cash in. I understand that. Show up for your effing team. I'm sick of this. I'm sick of players just giving up after a big contract. This is like Albert Hainsworth type of crap right here. Darrelle Revis actually tried this game, and look what happened. He played good, all right? So obviously this has just been him steadily declining. And I understand coaching is involved with this, positioning. Me and you have been saying this whole basically the offseason, what we need to do now is put Revis on the number 2 and double the number one. This isn't hard. This is what Belichick did, and it worked. They got a Super Bowl.
No, the Jets tried it earlier in the year and it did not work. We must note that as well. But he did it well against the Dolphins after he's gotten in shape. So yeah,
Yeah, well, here's also the case. I mean, guys like Darryl Roberts have stepped up a little bit, and Calvin Pryor's actually starting to come around this year. We see him making some decent plays, not giving up on tackles. The team looks a little more motivated, but still, this leads back to coaching. Currently we don't have a head coach, we don't have a quarterback, and we don't have a cornerback. I don't know about you, but, can you think of the last Super Bowl winner who didn't have three of those, or all three of those? You can't do it. We can't even make the playoffs.
Wait. Ask me again. I was tweeting out. Hold on. Ask me again. Well, give me.
You hear that? But there's this weird. Okay, that must have been a horn or something. Anyway, can you think of a Super Bowl winner that hasn't had a head coach, hasn't had a quarterback, and hasn't had a corner?
They all have head coaches, corners.
No, I mean
quarterbacks.
Living, breathing ones that know what they're doing or perform well.
Oof. Well, I mean, there's only a few cases. Now, the Ravens had a great defense.
Which Ravens team? 2002 or 2010?
2002. I'm trying to put this together.
Was that the year with
Trent Dilfer? Yeah, that was the Trent Dilfer.
Trent Dilfer, who was a good game manager. Don't get him wrong. He's a glorified game manager, but he actually did a lot better than Ryan Fitzpatrick. Their head coach at the time was Brian Billick, I believe. Was that who it was?
And he's a good coach.
He's a very good head coach.
Yeah, I mean, those are arguably the some of the three most important positions on a team.
Yeah. And then corner. I mean, they've had a couple really good guys back there, and obviously there's Ed Reed. So even if your corner's not playing well at the time, Ed Reed in his prime, he'd do very well for you.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, those are some of the most important positions in football. And the Jets, essentially, I mean, there's a myriad of problems. Anyways, we're gonna get to our phone lines, and we should wrap up here in the next 15, 30 minutes. So on the line now is Marcus. Sorry, Marcus, you've been on hold for a little bit. How's it going, man?
Hey, what's up, fellas? My bad. I didn't call him last week, guys. I don't know what happened. I called him Wednesday. Were you guys off or what?
No, we were good. I think, I was gone and Kyle was doing the show by himself. But, anyways, Marcus, how's it going, man? How are you feeling after this? I mean, it's been a couple of days since the Jets lost on Sunday.
Oh, wait. Hold up. Ben, before you get in, Marcus, the people who touched you, that is me. That's not Ben. I'm the one who asked you who you are. So just for reference.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, how I'm feeling about the game, guys, I don't know what's going on with this team. It was a very sloppy game overall. We still had a chance to win it. I know you guys are talking about play calling or whatever. I think it has more to do with execution. I don't think you see the same, everyone's been talking about Darrelle Revis. You don't see the same fire out of him. His dog, his inner dog is just gone. It's just everywhere. You see Fitzpatrick and what's his name, Brandon Marshall getting into it on the sideline. I mean, it's just bad, guys. I don't know what's going on. I'm kind of in favor of what Kyle's been saying lately, just tank it. I'm ready to see Petty.
Yeah.
Whenever Petty came in, I was like, the era has begun. Let's see Petty roll, man. I'm ready for Petty. How do you guys feel?
I'm ready for Petty. Shout out to Jay. I was literally getting my credit card ready to buy the shirt. But then Ryan Fitzpatrick had to come back in because, that's just what he does. I'll give Ryan Fitzpatrick credit. As I much hate him as a player, he's a tough SOB. He's literally laid his life on the line at some points for this team.
Yeah, his heart. Yeah, I said his heart is not in question here. He clearly wants it so bad, but his body's just giving up on him.
On Revis or Fitzpatrick? What are you guys talking about? I didn't
well, Fitzpatrick. I mean, I guess that goes for both of them. Actually, probably more for Fitzpatrick. Fitzpatrick wants it really bad. Revis doesn't seem like he wants it that bad, and his body's
Revis is Revis at this point is just an old guy in a retirement village.
Oh, guys, but I'll say, my bad. You do see that from Fitzpatrick, though. If you see him doing those blocks, and that is, like, it's good to see, but it's like, man, execute when we need to, you know what I mean? Like, you can't throw red zone picks. Like, I'm tired of seeing that. I don't want to, like, see us drive all the way down, you have something going, and then you throw a red zone pick. It's like, dude, I'm tired of that, man. I'm ready for Petty. I think I know that there's, like, a slim chance if we went out, we could still make the playoffs. I'm not even looking for playoffs. I'm focused on next year. Let's see what we got in Petty. We haven't even seen him on the field. I say let's see what we got in him, and let's see what we got into next year. I mean, what if, like, you know what I mean? How can we be looking at people in the draft for next year? I've heard Kyle say a couple times that, oh, we could draft someone next year or whatever, within the draft. We haven't even seen Petty or Hackenberg on the field yet. You know what I mean? Like, we need to see one of them before we start thinking about drafting another quarterback. Sorry, guys, I kind of just went off on the rant right there.
No, it was all good. I was seeing if Kyle. Sorry, Kyle's having a little connection issue, so it's making a loud noise for our listeners.
Oh, yeah. I am hearing that, but...
Yeah, it's all good. Anyways, Marcus, well, let's talk about it a little bit here. I know you said it wasn't with the play calling, but I mean, am I the only one that's noticing? I mean, just the red zone play calling just looks bad. I mean, it looks so anemic. Are you seeing that too, or what would you what would you diagnose? Because a big problem with this team is they're getting down to the red zone, but they just can't score in the red zone. So what do you think is the biggest problem for the red zone offense?
You know what? I'm not too sure. I think it might be decision-making on quarterback's part. I mean, yes, there is some bad, like I know a couple times we saw some shovel passes. We see that little screen where it's like a misdirection screen. You start on one side and you go to the other side. I don't know what they're doing. Last year we were so, like we executed very well in the red zone. I think we were, like, top 10 for sure. I know we'd scored all the time in the red zone. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it has to do with Eric Decker being out, but you can even argue when Eric Decker was in, we still weren't really punching it in. So I'm not too sure what's going on, man. I think it's just overall team view. Like, we're bad. You know what I mean? We're a bad team. We're not the same team we were like last year. Same players showed up, but I don't know. It's just we're not the same team.
Yeah, here's my thoughts on the red zone offense. Because last year that was a huge strength of ours, and we would just somehow magically get a lot of these. And what it is for me is play calling, and I think it's solely on that. I'm not going to blame this on Ryan Fitzpatrick. Now, his interceptions sometimes, those are definitely his fault, but primarily it's play calling in my mind. Last year, most of the time in the red zone, we pounded it with Chris Ivory. We did a bubble screen to Bilal Powell, or we threw it up to Brandon Marshall. Now, this year, we don't have anybody to pound it in with. I mean, Matt Forte, as decent as he's been for us, he's not a bruiser, right? He's not going to power his way into the end zone every single time. We've seen him do it like 2 times this year, but, it's not often for him. Then teams have started game planning for Bilal Powell, and he has still been effective, just not in the red zone. And then finally, Ryan Fitzpatrick and Brandon Marshall do not seem to be on the same page at all. You see them being frustrated with each other multiple times in multiple games. It's not even just this past game. This past game was like the only time that that it's been shown on TV. I mean, it's been active like the whole year, and this is a problem because Brandon Marshall's so big and so strong, and he always gets away with the push-off. So just throw it up to him. This isn't hard. And we saw him signaling for the ball in the end zone. Marshall wanted it so bad. He wanted to prove a lot. And Ryan Fitzpatrick did not let him.
Did you see that?
Yeah,
it was
you can tell.
He was like, what are you doing, dude? Like, throw it up. Like, why are you going to? Like, it was just real quick. I think that's
it's like a model. Sometimes you got to just throw up.
Throw it up.
What was that joke, Kyle?
I didn't know.
Yeah, that was a bad joke, Kyle. Boo. 0 for 1 so far, Kyle. No, I mean, I think the best moment of the entire game was when Marshall caught that one-handed catch, and the camera just zoomed in on his face, and he just throw me the effing ball. I think that just encapsulates. I mean, he just wants the ball every play. He knows he's the only guy that's going to catch Fitz's errant passes. So yeah. Anyways, Marcus, anything else you want to talk about before we wrap it up, or any other topics?
Yeah, dude. I think like mid-season, I know we're not doing that good, guys, but mid-season MVP, what do you guys got? No one mid-season MVP?
Kyle, you can go first.
What was the question? I honestly couldn't hear you.
Mid-season MVP, who do you got?
Oh, I want to give it to Brian Winters, but I feel like that would be so unsexy and so unappealing.
And not true.
or most improved. I know it is.
I also want to say Bilal Powell, but we don't use him a lot. I'll go with Forte just because of the amount of touchdowns, but that wouldn't be my choice.
No. Well, as far as, like, if I had to choose the best player, the most valuable, like...
the
number one player, I would go Brandon Marshall. But I know what you're saying. The guy who's not... it's not most improved, but it's almost like if we're eliminating some of the veterans, guys who were, the Quincy Nunez, the Leonard Williams, the Bilal Powells, Brian Winters, guys like that. For me, I think it's between Quincy and Leonard. I'll go Quincy because I think it was big for him to step up in the absence of Eric Decker. We were really worried, especially with Devin Smith hurt. Quincy's had to do stuff he's not comfortable with, having to come in to be the number 2 receiver, and he's performed spectacularly. He was definitely a guy who worked the entire offseason on his hands. He has maybe, besides Brandon Marshall, the best hands on this team. He catches almost everything thrown to him, and last year that was a problem with him. He's worked on pretty much everything, and he's really stepped up nicely. And he's mini Brandon Marshall, and I think the Jets will look to build around him at the wide receiver position. So he's probably number 1 for me. Although Leonard Williams is not that far behind because he's also looked incredible.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing from Leonard Williams. He's like a future star, I think. Quincy Nunez, guy, he is so, I'm loving what I see from him. I think you need to feed him the rock more because there are times in the games where, he gets thrown the ball and he drops it. I think he's just ready to make a play right after the catch. You know what I mean? So I think we need to keep feeding Quincy Nunez. Real quick, I know you guys got to wrap it up, but I like what I'm seeing from Robbie Anderson. He looks really good. He looks like he's getting open most of the time. We just can't get him the ball. Okay? And then on defense, I already covered Leonard Williams, but also for a part-time when he was in there, Aaron Lee looks pretty good too.
Yeah, Kyle, any other last words you want to talk about MVP?
No, not really.
No? Sorry, Kyle, you're kind of breaking up.
Yeah, no, there's some connection issues with this. There's some connection issues with this episode. Anyways, Marcus, thank you so much for calling in, man. Is there Twitter or anything anybody can follow you at, or is it?
Sorry, guys, I'm off the grid, but hey, I'll call in next week. You guys do a great job. Love hearing you guys argue and talk about your jet take. So I'll call in next week and see what you guys are up to. And hopefully we come away with the win, but kind of hopefully not. I want to tank. I want to get a good draft pick, get some new stars on the team, and see what's going on.
Come on. We got to cheer for a Jets win. But anyways, thanks, Marcus.
Go Jets.
We do not. That is not correct.
Yeah, it is. Oh, Kyle, your mic, man. I'm going to mute you
I'm
for a
sorry.
little
I'm on speakerphone. I forgot my microphone at home, and I don't really have a laptop to hook it up to. So, you're working.
When you're talking, it's fine. So just continuously talk the entire episode.
I feel like I do that any episode anyway. Okay, I just want to ask you a couple questions because, I haven't really been paying attention to my phone. Were you aware that Jarvis Jenkins got waived?
Yes, I was. He got cut. Ryan Clady was put on IR. We signed a guy from the Patriots practice squad, and Devin Smith was activated.
Yeah, okay. Well, I knew about the Devin Smith thing and the Patriots practice squad guy, but kind of a shocker Jarvis Jenkins was cut. I mean,
And Clady? Did you not know about Clady?
Oh, yeah, I knew about that, too. That came over with the Devin Smith thing as the transaction, basically. But kind of shocked about Jarvis Jenkins. I mean, didn't we give him a pretty decent contract in the offseason?
Yeah, and I think the Jets, I don't know, he looked solid. But,
Yeah, I mean, Mike knows what he's doing.
Yeah, sorry about that. I think Jarvis Jenkins, I thought he did a solid job against the run. He's a veteran. He's a guy a lot of people liked on this team. I think he was just featured on the Jets Snapchat, a couple hours ago. That's weird.
It's funny how life can throw a curveball at you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Jets are shedding some veterans, and we'll see. Maybe, I mean, you don't know. You don't know what's happened. There's definitely been some dysfunction at defensive line room, so maybe he has something to do with it. You never know. We're on the outside. Anyways, Kyle, before we wrap this episode up, and I know we've had some connection issues. In the beginning was a lot of me talking. So, but anything else any other topics you want to touch on before we say goodbye?
Not really.
Well, you're super fun to talk to. Now on the tight end position, though, before we wrap it up, Austin Seferian-Jenkins. Do you think the Jets will target him at all this Sunday? We have not seen him that much. I think he's a solid prospect. I like him more than Jason Morrow. Do you think we'll see him? Yes or no?
I like him more than Jason Morrow, but I'm just going to go out and say he's the biggest bust in NFL history. So,
no, he's not. Oh, my gosh. I'm going to do some rapid-fire questions, and then we'll wrap it up. All right, will Bryce Petty see the field on Sunday?
Oh, no. Oh, well, sorry. No, sorry.
Will Christian Hackenberg be active on Sunday? Because that would mean Ryan Fitzpatrick's hurt.
Possibility. Good possibility.
Nice. Will Darrelle Revis give up a long touchdown to one of the Rams wide receivers? Specifically, maybe Tavon Austin, I don't know.
No, Tavon Austin just basically plays slot, runs across the middle.
Nice. Will the Jets give up my bad. How many yards will Todd Gurley have from scrimmage?
36.
Whoa. The Jets' run defense is going to come in clutch. And
clutch. He sucked this year.
Okay, wait. How many interceptions will the Jets defense, or how many turnovers will the Jets defense get? Who will they be by? And yeah.
One, Case Keenum will throw an interception.
To who?
A defensive player.
Okay. Marcus Gilchrist, whatever. And final question: how many sacks will Leonard Williams get on Sunday?
2.5.
Ooh, big day for a big cat. All right, guys, I think that's where we're gonna wrap up this episode. As always, you can follow us at thejettake on Twitter. We're on SoundCloud, iTunes. We have a blog page. We're all over the map. You can just look us up: Facebook, Instagram, Periscope. Kyle and I Periscope live after the game. We're on YouTube. And speaking of YouTube, we might be doing some things in the future. Maybe this Saturday you could see some new stuff. So we'll keep you posted. And always, our blog page, www.thejettake.libsyn.org. You can follow that. That is the correct one. I believe I gave out the wrong link before, but I believe that is the correct link.
Yeah, you did. I mean, that happened, Ben. I mean, you're going to have to boost it.
Well, anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see. Oh, yeah, my bad. One more thing we got to mention. The blog page, as I already said, check that out. Kyle and I might be doing some draft scouting and some free agent prospects after the year or post-game analysis. We could be doing all sorts of stuff on that, so just keep tuned for that. If so, we post it on Twitter. So the best way to keep you connected with the show is on Twitter. We will respond to you if you tweet at us. We'll follow you back if you're a Jets fan, and we can have nice conversations, and we'll talk about the game. We're a solid follow. Anyways, Kyle, I think that's where we're going to end it. Oh, come on. Yes, it is. I think, Kyle, final question for you that I forgot to ask. Who's going to win this game Sunday and why, and what's the score?
Jets, because screw us.
Yeah, I'm going to go Jets, too, by a solid margin. I'll go 27-13. I think the Jets are going to come out firing on all cylinders. So I think that's where we're going to end it, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hopefully if the Jets lose, then they lose, and if they win, they win. It's whatever at this point. Maybe the Jets string together a few wins, get back in the hunt, or they continue to lose and get a high draft pick. All right, well, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we're going to be live Wednesday nights from now on at 5 p.m. and then we have some stuff in the works, so we'll excite you.
8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Ben. You live on the
my bad. 8 p.m. Eastern. My bad. 8 p.m. Eastern. So if you're a Jets fan, please call in. We have some stuff working, some interviews in the mix, and I think it should be a good time. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. Talk to you guys next week on a Wednesday, and hopefully the Jets will either win and could get this ball rolling, win 7 straight, or we'll lose and get the number 3 overall pick. But road to 10-6 starts now. See you guys next week.
Why you lie?
10-6 starts now.